type of data. Like I mentioned before, there could be a mistake where your data was mislabeled, okay, where a data type, for instance, let's say it was a string, it was mislabeled as a float or as an integer. It could happen. It happens all the time. So in a situation like that where you want to change it to another data type, you have to first reference that particular column. Okay, so in this case, within df, we want age, right? This is where you're going to be making the changes. Okay, so here you're saying that now this is the new data, this is the new column for age. Okay, it's like saying I'm changing something. Okay, I want you to use it to replace df age. Okay, it's creating a new column called dfh and replacing the old age, right? So it's equal to, you make reference to your age column, df age, and then dots as type. Okay, this is where you change your data type. Okay, so using dot as type gives you the opportunity to change it from the existing data type to whatever data type you want. In this case, we want to change it to a float. Okay, we could have changed it to a string, to an object, right? Or an integer. It could be anything really, but it should make sense for the data you're working with. Okay, in this case it was float, and just stick to it. Even though you just stick to it, and it should run it. We have it in place. Okay, now our data type for age is float. Okay, when you are correcting anything within a column, you'd want to always replace the column. It's just easier. Okay, and to be honest, that's the only way you work with it easily. Okay. Okay, so data operations are going to be filtering our data. Okay, when filtering your data, you first have to get into the data frame, then do your operations on your column. Okay, so as you can see here, we have df, then our square brackets, then within that we have referencing of the column, then greater than 30. Okay, let me just print out df here again so we can easily reference it. Okay, yes. Okay, there. Okay, so this is our data frame. So first you have to get into the data frame. Here we have df with our square brackets that's getting us into the data frame. Then we have to get to the column we want to work with. In this case, we are working with age. Okay, and to reference a column, you have df, the square brackets, then the column name, and the operations you want to perform on it. In this case, we just want to find ages that are greater than 30. Okay, so this is the operation that we are performing on it. And there we have 78 being ages. 35 being the age, the row with the age greater than 30, right? If we had just run this without getting into the data frame, we would have had just a true or false situation. So it's just saying, okay, here's true, here's false, here's true, here's false, here's true. This is where it's your little operation is true, this is where it's false, this is where it's true, this is where it's false. So when you get into your data, okay, by using df here, so it's like you're trying to access this within your data frame where it is true within the data frame. It just prints out just the data you need without the whole Boolean situation of checking if it's true or false, where your your calculations were true, where it's false. No, so putting it within that, accessing it from your data frame gives you the raw data you're looking for instead of the whole Boolean situation of a true or false, right? Okay, so let's have other examples. For instance, let's say we want to find scores greater than 90. Okay, we want to see people with their scores greater than 90. Okay, so we're going to start with, I usually start with the where the operations are done first. Okay, where your mathematical operations are done first. So I'll go for like TF. Then in this case we are trying to access exam score, right? You should just copy and paste it so that I don't have any spelling mistakes, because I make a lot of spelling mistakes. Okay, and then I want to find where my students got greater than 70 to 80. Up like everybody 80, right? Just running this will give me true or false situations. Then I go into the data frame here and access it from the data frame. Then I get what I want, right? I'll advise to go from inside out, because sometimes starting from outside you make a lot of mistakes. So you want to take it from the inner part where the operations are actually performed, then get into the data frame. Okay, so grouping and aggregating your data. If you have worked with SQL, this will be easy to understand. I'm still going to explain it anyway, but you'll find it more relatable if you have. When you're working with your data and you want to group your data, it's like compressing your data. Okay, let's say you have the data frame full of different groceries, okay, and you have categorized it into whether it is ripe or not, okay, whether your fruits are ripe or not. So each category has so many different rows of data, right? So let's say you want to group your data by these different categories. Okay, when you group them, you want to aggregate your data, because most of the times actually you would run into an error, in the sense that it will try to compress or add up your data or perform operations on your data when you have not explicitly stated one. Okay, for instance, in this case we are trying to group by our age column, right? We are trying to group by the column age, right? But then we are trying to aggregate scores. Okay, let me just write exam scores, because this will cause a problem. Okay, so we are trying to aggregate by exam scores. Okay, we are trying to find the mean of the exam scores. So we want to group our data by age. Okay, and then when you group the data by age, I want you to compress the rest of the data, right, to produce outputs with your exam score mean. Okay, if this doesn't run into an error, yeah. So here, as you can see, we have only these two columns being produced here. We have our exam scores where the calculations are actually being performed, and then we have the age, in this case acting as if it was the index. Okay, because we are trying to group by the data, we are trying to compress the whole data frame into these categories. Okay, the categories of the ages. Okay, so the ages are our categories in this sense. Again, for each category I want you to compress it by the mean of the exam score. Okay, so that's what it does. So everybody within the age group of 25 has a mean average score of 85.5, 30, 90.3. For 35 you have 78.0. If it was a large data set and we did not aggregate our data, we might actually run an error. Okay, So merging your data and joining your data you use it so often, okay, when you're trying to just put your data frames together, okay, different data frames together. And here again, if you have worked with SQL, this will be easy to relate to, in the sense that you just be joining columns and data frames within SQL all the time. Okay, so here we are going to be using PD, referencing Pandas, right? We are going to use the command merge, then the data frames we are trying to merge. Okay, so we have data frame 1, data frame 2, and we are trying to join the data together on their IDs. Okay, did I create data frame 1 and 2? I'm not sure. Let me run it and see if I did. Okay, I did not. df2 is not defined. That means there's no data frame called df2. Okay, but if there was a data frame called df2, you have it joined to df1 using the index. Okay, on ID index, that's its index. Okay, so let me try and reference. So if df1 like this, we would have another data frame similar to this, right? And we'll be joining them by the indexes. So where index 0 is equal to index 0, you join it to this part. Okay, so we'll have more columns here, assuming the columns were not the same. If they were even the same, we'll still have repetitive columns in here. Okay, so we'll have them be joining by the indexes. So we have, maybe if the data frame had 3 columns, we have 3 more columns here, having 6 columns that are joined together to the already existing data frame by their indexes. Okay, so index 0 will be joined to index 0, index 1 will be joined to index 1, and index 2 to index 2. Alright, so that's how merging and joining works.